Hey gang, I am Joe Edelman and welcome to The Last Frame Live, the first one in 2023. So tonight we got a little bit of photo news. I've got some updates on my teaching calendar for 2023 that I want to go over with you. And of course our main topic, what can we expect for the photography industry in 2023? And I have a feeling it's going to be a bit of a crazy year. Also, of course, I promised to do a Q&A before we wrap up. So start typing. If you're here, you could use some help with your photography. I'll do my best to answer all of your questions in the next 60 minutes. And by the way, if you're watching the replay, thanks for stopping by. There are chapters listed below so that you can jump ahead to the sections of the show that interest you the most. For those of you that are here live, no sense in looking for them. They don't go on until after the show. And if you are watching live, you know the drill. Please leave me a note in the chat. Let me know who you are and where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, again, thanks for stopping by. No worries, though. Drop a comment below the video so that I know you were here. I mean, we got a big crowd tonight. A bunch of people are here from Thursday already. I got Philip in Queensland, Australia. Let's see, Todd's here from Norway. John's here from Nashville. I got Jeff Bunch here from Washington State. Oren from Jamaica, Andre from Mexico, Robert from New Mexico, Ron also in Australia, Dusty in Toronto, let's see, Nicola in Italy, I got Scott in Arizona, Michael also in Australia, we've got Calvin here in Maine, Lynn in New York, Keith in the south of France. So cool. All of you are part of a growing global community of photographers in over 100 countries who tune in to watch The Last Frame every week. And for that, I appreciate you, and I will work really hard to help you improve your photography tonight. It, of course, would help a lot more people learn about The Last Frame. If you could do me a solid, hit that thumbs up below the video. The more thumbs up, the more that YouTube recommends the show to other photographers. And of course, while you're down there, feel free to hit that share button. Let your photography friends know that we are streaming live on YouTube right now, or go ahead and share the link that I just dropped into the chat. It is lastframe.live. I just dropped it into that chat window for you so you can click on that. And of course, Twitter, Facebook, they are the fastest way to get the word out. So we do have one piece of photography news today. Since it happened today, I'll go ahead and I will share it with you. And that is that Panasonic, and I know a lot of Panasonic people in my TOGKnowledge community have been going back and forth with the rumor sites for, honestly, a couple months now, eagerly awaiting this release. I don't think they got what they actually wanted, at least not the people in my community. But Panasonic announced two new camera bodies today, the Lumix S5 II and the Lumix S5 IIX. Why do camera companies have to make these model numbers when you add it to the brand name? Like, just so impossible to spit out. Why do they do that? Both cameras are full-frame mirrorless cameras. They also announced a new 14 to 28 millimeter ultra-wide L-mount half macro zoom lens. So basically, the S5 II has many of the same features as the original S5, but of course it has enhancements. Just a few of those enhancements are a new, they're calling it the L2 technology image engine, basically, you know, the processing software. It's got a brand new 24.2 megapixel CMOS sensor with PDAF, a 6K 30 open gate video capabilities, 14 plus stops of both V-Log and V-Gamut dynamic range. That's a pretty impressive number. There's a new phase hybrid autofocus, new active IS technology, 30 frames electronic burst shooting for stills, real-time LUT application, 10-bit high frame rates, and the list goes on, okay? The S5 IIX is kind of the same camera, but it's geared mainly towards pro video shooters. So it adds to the ST2 raw video recording. There's like an output upgrade. You can go USB to SSD recording, ProRes recording, wireless and wired IP streaming. So, and I think the other cool thing, it's the first all black Lumix body design. So cool stuff. Congratulations for you full frame Panasonic shooters. They win the prize in 2023 for the first camera release of the year. So I am going to take a couple minutes tonight just to give you guys a breakdown of some of the educational opportunities that I have coming up, because there's a bunch of stuff and it's really important that I tell you about it. And I'm just realizing as I'm saying that I also overlooked one of the pages that I need to show you. So the first one that's coming up is happening in about 2 weeks, actually, and that is Imaging USA. So Imaging USA is in Nashville, Tennessee this year. The pre-con classes, at least the ones that I'll be teaching, are on Saturday the 21st of this month, and then starting Sunday the 22nd, running through, I believe that Tuesday or Wednesday, the 24th, okay? The conference and the trade show happens. So there are still some spots left. I know for sure in my morning hands-on on the Saturday. I have a feeling the afternoon one is getting close to filled up, but if you'd rather do the afternoon, it's worth going ahead and trying to register and see if that option is there. The hands-on classes, I'm just going to scroll down here and I will share the link with you. Whoops. They are on the Saturday before the whole big event kicks off. And the one that I'm doing is called When Portraiture and Fashion Collide. It's a creativity workshop. The cool part of this is it is a hands-on workshop. And I don't mean like, you get to walk up and take a picture of what I do. I mean, it is your opportunity with my guidance to create and to actually make some cool images, okay? So that link for Imaging USA is in the chat, and it's also below the video, so you've got that information there. And then coming up right after Imaging USA, well, not right after, but in March, the very beginning of March, I will be in Las Vegas for WPPI. I'm doing two things actually at WPPI this year. I was about to say I'm only doing one, but on Monday, March 6th, the day after my birthday, I will be doing a photo walk. And this is a fun one. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. It's called Posing Without Posing. So we're going to take a model out. We'll definitely do it outside because it's Vegas, right? And the grounds around the Mirage Hotel are actually really awesome for shooting. But we're basically going to create some really cool fashion type images. But it's not about the fashion images. It's about showing you how you can pose models without actually knowing any poses. Right? You hear me talk a lot about the idea, look, don't learn a bunch of poses because then you're just going to reuse those poses over and over and over again, and all your pictures are going to look the same. So when I'm photographing people, I take a completely different process that has everything to do with body language and the emotion and the concept behind the shot. But this link that I'm going to share with you here, and this is not below the video, I will add it and update it. That's my bad. There are couple important things here on this page. One, if you're thinking about going, you can get a conference pass plus a free one, and then even get $50 off a third one if you want to take your buddies, okay? And you can use my name, Edelman, all capital letters, to get a 40% discount for the full conference. There also are links here that will allow you to get the conference pass, just the trade show, for free. Right? So check that out. WPPI, great conference, lots of fun shooting events. And I will say also, the thing to understand about WPPI, even though it is a wedding and portrait type conference, look closely at the talks and the presentations, and especially the photo walks that are happening. It's not all weddings and portraits. A lot of really, really cool stuff that's going on there, right? And then next up for me after WPPI, I don't have all the details for this, but I can confirm for sure March 17th and 18th. That's a Friday and a Saturday. It's the last weekend of South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. I'm going to be in Austin, Texas at Precision Camera. I'll be at their main store on the Friday evening, the 17th. We're going to do a presentation there. Not sure what yet, so it'll be a surprise. I'll let you know by next week. And then here's the cool part. On Saturday afternoon, we have full run exclusive use of the soccer stadium in Austin, Texas. Sony and Nikon are going to be there with loaner cameras. I think ProPhoto is going to be there with lighting, and we're going to have a whole bunch of models, and we are allowed to use any part of the stadium. And it's actually a really cool stadium. So it's not like we're going to be shooting out on the soccer pitch, but we will be in and around the stadium and seating areas and inside the concourses. There's really, really cool spaces. And we will be doing all kinds of cool location portraiture and fashion on that Saturday afternoon. So that's March 17th and 18th. Keep an eye on my website. You'll get more details on that over the next couple of days, but I can tell you it's definitely happening. And then in April is Texas School. And Texas School is your opportunity to be able to literally spend an entire week, Monday through Friday at noon, with me. So when you sign up for Texas School, there's all these different instructors. And believe me, there are some amazing instructors that are teaching at Texas School this year. But you pick your instructor and the class, the topic that's being taught, and you spend the entire week learning with that instructor. So in the course of my class, it's called Do Different, Be Different, Create Images That Stand Out. We will be doing everything from start to finish, the planning, the preparation, the styling, working with the makeup artists, shooting the portraits, doing the creative fantasy portraits that I do. We will be talking about business, marketing, social media, all of that. And it's really reasonably priced. It's like $750 for the full week to be able to attend. And if you're a member of TPPA, which is Texas Professional Photographers Association, I think you get like $120 off. So excellent deal there. Let me go ahead and click on my class and I'll give you guys that link. Okay. And then one more thing, and then we'll get into our topic tonight. On my website, and if you visit my website frequently, which of course you all do, I'm sure you do, I hope you do, you'll notice there's a couple, small minor changes, but I do want to let you know that my education schedule of my virtual presentations is updated and it's posted. So the first one that's coming up is next Tuesday, January 10th, correct exposures for digital cameras. So if you shoot film, this is not the course for you, right? This is about digital. Now you may be thinking, well, wait a minute, isn't it the same? The short answer is hell no. And that's the problem. Too many people are still teaching about the exposure triangle. Too many people still teach ISO as if it's sensitivity. And if that's the way you think and you're using a digital camera, especially if it's a mirrorless camera, you're missing out. You're really missing out. So this is a 2-hour breakdown of the basics of exposure, but then more importantly, the practical aspect and the everyday shooting aspect of how to get the right exposure so that you are getting consistent exposure. So I'm going to give you 2 links here. This is for next Tuesday. This is the correct exposure class. And then so that you can see the whole list of them, there are 11 of them that I'll be doing this year. You can visit this second link right here. Okay. All right. So I'm done pimping my stuff until the end, and I have one more thing for you. But let's go ahead and let's talk about our topic tonight. Because really what I want, and I saw I got a couple questions come in already, and that's really what I want to do. I want to spend more time on the questions tonight. So the reason why I picked this topic, what can we expect for the photography industry in 2023? You know that I have a love-hate relationship with the photography blogs, the big ones, right? Great people that run them. They work very hard. They give us wonderful information and they give it to us for free. But understand, in order for them to pay their bills, they have to sell advertising. And in order to make the advertising pay off, they have to get a lot of traffic coming to those websites. And just like any other news source today, unfortunately, one of the ways that they get a lot of traffic to come to that website is to kind of sensationalize things and to get people worked up about stuff. And, last week, before the holiday, we talked a lot about AI because, people are really freaking out about AI and what's that all going to mean. But already I'm seeing a whole bunch of articles this year, not only about AI, but predictions for the photography industry. And gloom and doom stuff. There's all these articles about how people are hiring TikTok influencers to photograph their weddings now. And that's where the sentence ends, which is really ridiculous because actually the people that are hiring the TikTok influencers to do their weddings, they're actually pretty smart. And they're still hiring wedding photographers in most cases. And the people that are doing it are actually people who are influencers themselves. And so, yeah, there's this little niche piece, but it's not like those TikTok influencers are replacing wedding photographers, right? They're just not. And if any wedding photographer finds themselves replaced that way, come on, I'm sorry, but they just weren't that good in the first place now, were they, right? So I wanted to give you kind of my take on this, what's going to happen this year. I do think it's going to be a wild year, but here's a couple things that we can kind of count on, some numbers. These are fact-based numbers, right? I would predict that we'll see approximately 17 more new cameras released from the major camera manufacturers this year. Now, obviously the caveat there is approximately, but where do I come up with that 17 number? Well, for the last 2 years, 18 is precisely how many cameras that were released amongst all the major manufacturers. Same amount of cameras each year. Now, it doesn't mean it's the same amount of cameras every year. And honestly, I would expect that number will drop a little bit. I don't think they'll make that 18. We are hitting a point, I don't want to call it a saturation point, but we are hitting a point where, there's a lot of cameras out there. And while there's also a lot of photographers and there's still more people getting into photography, things are going to start to slow down. That's just a given. Like camera sales actually picked up last year by like over 16%, just over 16%, but they're expected this year to only have about a 3.5% gain. So, it's not going to be this craziness. Last year, 42 lenses were released. Big year for lenses. But keep in mind, you've got companies like Canon, companies like Nikon that are in the process of updating their lens catalogs because they got a later start in the mirrorless business. So we may match that number again this year. I don't think we're going to exceed it. I think we'll actually be a little bit below it. But I would expect that we're going to see quite a few lenses because in addition to that, we're also seeing a lot of, shall we say, off-brand lens manufacturers that are starting to build up some momentum. I mean, obviously Sigma, Tamron, they've been the king of the hill for a long time, but we've got a lot of these other, Chinese companies that are coming in with lenses, and especially the companies that are making the manual lenses and that. And there's some interesting stuff happening, right? Last year, film sales were up actually dramatically last year. And, it's kind of fair to say that film is having a moment, right? And good for film. Is film coming back? No. Is film trendy? Yes. There's that word that I don't like, trendy. For me, that's the perfect reason to not shoot film if you're not already doing it. As far as I'm concerned, the only reason to shoot film is if it's something that really excites you. And if it does, good for you, like seriously. But please understand, especially if you're a younger photographer, shooting film, it's not a bragging point. It doesn't make your pictures better, doesn't make your pictures more interesting. It's just another way to do it. Some artists work in oils, some artists work in watercolors, some artists work in acrylics, and so on and so forth, okay? At the end of the day, people either like their art or they don't. Amongst themselves, they'll argue if watercolor is better than oils or whatever, but the people that view their art, they don't really have that kind of preference, right? And on social media, I think we're going to see TikTok dominate social media, and rightfully so, because they're the company that's kind of doing things right with social media in terms of entertaining people, in terms of building algorithms that give people what they want. Certainly, we still have the concerns over the fact that, TikTok is a Chinese-based company. As we've seen recently here in the US, the government has banned the use of TikTok on government computer networks. And I think that's actually a smart thing to do. I think that's fine. But, I'm sure different countries will handle it differently. I do not believe for 1 second that we will reach a point in the United States where TikTok is blocked or banned. We've seen what happens when pieces of the internet are blocked elsewhere around the world, and it doesn't go well. So I do not expect that will happen in this country, but I do think there will be restrictions put on it in certain places, and that's completely reasonable. But the TikTok algorithm is probably the smartest of all of them, and they're expanding on their content types. Look, just like anybody else that grows, I expect that they'll have some fumbles along the way, but they definitely seem to be the one that is leading the pack at this point. Sad to say, Facebook, Instagram, they're kind of getting relegated to, the generational usage. They still have big audiences. So for those of you that are trying to make money, still in business, they're still big players. In fact, I'll be doing a social media class towards the end of the year. Unfortunately, you missed my one for this year, but we'll be talking about that and kind of where things are at that point. And then of course there's Twitter, and who knows what's going to happen with Twitter. We will see. Time will tell, right? For photographers, Twitter hasn't really been much of a factor for quite a while, and I don't think it's likely to be. So beyond that, what other things do we need to be looking at when it comes to this new year? Because I said, well, I think it's going to be a wild ride. A couple weeks ago, I talked about AI, and I basically said, hey, take a breath, chill out, relax. I still say, hey, take a breath, chill out, relax. But hold on tight. AI, this is going to be the year of AI. I will make you this guarantee by the end of 2023. And some of you are going to say, I already feel this way now, Joe, but by the end of 2023, you're all going to be sick and tired of hearing AI, 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 AI. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everywhere in the photography industry. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. You're not going to be able to turn on television without hearing about it. It's going to be a part of everything. I still maintain what I said a few weeks ago. I think it's awesome. Are there going to be problems with it? Hell yeah. Will there be problems with it in the photography arena? Hell yeah. But that's not the AI. That's people. They're going to use things and do things inappropriately. And look, we have not had one single advancement in technology in any of your lifetimes that has not been abused by people. When the internet came along, people were like, what the hell's the internet? What's this internet stuff? What's this? What's that? And then, people were stealing people's information online. Oh, the internet's bad. Oh, it's the worst thing to happen in society. Oh, the world's ending. And here we are 20 plus years later. You can't imagine life without the internet. You can barely remember what it was like not to have an internet. Plus, the overwhelming majority of our society doesn't know a world without the internet, right? So this stuff's happening. It's going to move forward. But I do think, and not just in photography space, like I said, some of you, if you follow any of this technology stuff, may be familiar with the title ChatGPT. This is a writing piece of technology. And I got to tell you, it's amazing. It's in beta. It's probably going to be very expensive, I think, when it first hits. But what this company is trying to do, it's actually being built, or I should say it's the project is being led by a couple former Google employees. And part of their goal, and it may shift as it gets used by more people, it may shift as people take advantage of it, because it does have a lot of problems inherently built in, but part of their goal is to actually be able to compete with Google with a different kind of search. And it is incredibly intelligent. In fact, right before we came online, I went ahead, let me just back up here and see if I can find it. I went ahead and I did two things, and this literally took me less than 2 minutes to do what I'm about to show you. I started out and I thought, you know what? I'm going to ask it what I'm talking about tonight. So I said, what predictions do you have for the photography industry in 2023? And I even had a spelling error. Notice the extra space in the word for up here. I'll read this for you because it's small on your screen. Here's what it wrote back, and it literally took seconds. It is difficult for me to make specific predictions about the photography industry in 2023. Okay, as I'm a language model and I don't have access to current events or the ability to browse the internet yet. However, I can tell you that the photography industry has undergone significant changes in recent years due to the proliferation of smartphones with high-quality cameras, as well as the increasing popularity of photo sharing platforms and social media. It's likely that these trends will continue to shape the industry in coming years. Not only is that well written, it's extremely accurate and very honest. Cool stuff. And then I went ahead, since I saw an article on one of the photography blogs, and I asked it, hey, please write me a blog post about imposter syndrome for photographers and include a list of things that they can do to overcome that problem. So I won't read you the whole thing, but it came back with, recognize that it's a common problem, and it's important to recognize that it's a common problem among photographers, so you're not alone. Build your skills. One of the best ways to overcome imposter syndrome is build your skills. And I'm paraphrasing all of these because I'm not going to read the whole thing. Seek feedback. Seek feedback from others, such as mentors, colleagues, or clients. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Set goals and celebrate your achievements. Surround yourself with supportive people. This stuff is amazing, right? So yeah, right out of the box, there's going to be problems with, school students cheating with it. In fact, there's a professor, I saw an article the other day, who had ChatGPT write a quiz for his class. And then he had ChatGPT take the quiz. And it doesn't database any of this, so it didn't know that it wrote the quiz. But then he had ChatGPT grade the quiz. And it did an amazing job across the board. So this is all stuff that is going to impact. It's going to impact our world. It's going to impact our technology. I do think that in the cameras, I predicted there's going to be about 17 cameras come out this year, maybe a little bit less. I think you're going to see more of the mention of AI, and also I think you'll see more computational photography built in to the cameras that we're used to using. Look, the smartphones have this kind of technology. The iPhones, the Pixel phones, even the Samsung phones, they're using computational photography at this point, and with some amazing features. I think you're going to start to see more of this. And, of all things, companies like Olympus could be one of the, OM Systems, could well be one of the first companies to really dive into this because they were the first to come to market with AI for the autofocus technology, right? So this is what we're going to be looking at. Now, again, the big reason why I wanted to have this conversation, you're going to see lots and lots and lots of articles about this stuff. And in order to get attention, most of these articles are going to be articles that are going to scare you with their headlines. Don't sweat it. Do pay attention to, generally speaking, what's happening, the trends that are out there, the information piece. Anytime you read a headline that says, oh, AI is bad, or this technology is bad, or whatever, just ignore the headline and go read the details and learn about it. And when you can, like with this ChatGPT, since they open up in beta, I signed up right away because I wanted to try it. I want to see what it does. I want to experiment with it. I want to understand it. That's the best thing that you can do, because is this AI going to change your photography and the way you shoot today, tomorrow, next month, in 6 months, by the end of the year? Probably not. But it's going to be everywhere, and it's going to be coming at you from all different directions. So, I think the real prediction for this year is that this year is going to be just like any other year. A lot of people are going to spend too much money on gear. A lot of people are going to spend too much time whining and complaining or putting down other photographers' work. And a lot of people will stay focused on their passion, and they'll take some incredible images. Many of those people, I know they'll frustrate me a little bit because they'll be so amazing, and I can't see the world the way they see the world. And that's what makes this stuff all so cool. So, bottom line, don't stress it. Keep shooting. Focus on your work. But pay attention. Don't ever become the photographer, or for that matter, don't be the person that just kind of puts their head in the sand and doesn't pay attention to what's going on, right? Not at all. So it's a good idea to be aware of what's happening, because honestly, if you're aware, you're also more aware of opportunities to help yourself with your photography, with your business, all of those things, right? That's the key. Okay, so that's it. I told you I was going to keep it short tonight. We're 30 minutes in. That leaves us 30 minutes for Q&A, stuff that I can help you with. Oren, I saw your note here that you used ChatGPT to help you draft emails to clients, which is, let me just make that a little bit bigger, which is actually awesome. That's definitely, certainly an opportunity with that. Okay, so I'm going to scroll on back here at the beginning, and I'm really serious, guys. Otherwise, it'll be a short show. If you got questions, type them in here. Let's, what can we talk about that's going to help you out? But going back to the beginning, David had a question here. I have a family that wants to come into my small home studio to do a photo shoot. They have 16 people to be photographed for one large group photo. And then he added, the problem that he has is that he has a backdrop that is only a 10 by 10, so he knows it won't fit the entire family at one time. Yeah, David, so you're gonna have to get a little bit creative here, right? So number one, obviously the challenge of bringing people into your home, and that's just part of what goes along with having a home studio, right? As far as the 10 by 10 background, there's a couple things that you could do. Number one, your option would be to photograph all 16 people individually and then composite it. I'll tell you right now, sometimes with family groups, that's actually a really smart way to go about it, simply because with family groups, things can get really chaotic, and it's almost impossible to get all 16 people, plus the dog and the cat, looking at the camera, right? It's just almost impossible. Now, you may not be at a point where you're comfortable doing that kind of compositing. You may also not be interested or willing to invest the amount of time that it will take you to do that kind of compositing, which, believe it or not, isn't that long as you shoot the images properly. But that being said, the other option would be to try to do anywhere from 2 to 4 smaller groups. Now, if you go with the smaller groups, you've got to pay a little bit more attention as to where you're standing them and how you're photographing. You can't photograph each of them exactly the same way, or they're not going to fit together properly unless you just line them up side by side, and then it's going to look kind of awkward, right? For family group, you've got to have some overlap and mixing of things, right? So you could do 4 groups of 4. You could do 2 groups of 8. You could mix up almost any combination, but you need to really kind of plan out how are these all piecing together so that you can stagger them and make it look like it was legitimately a real group shot. But indeed, a 10 by 10 foot background, even if you have them standing like tight back against the background, 16 people on a background that size is going to be extremely tight, and that you're not going to have any space around it to be able to create like an 8 by 10 crop or a 5 by 7 crop. It's going to really limit you. So I would encourage you to really consider, the compositing aspect. You're going to lock the camera down on a tripod because obviously the camera can't move. You are going to want to be careful of your camera height. And what I mean by that is if you're going to create 2 or 3 rows of people in the shot, you want a slightly higher camera angle. Don't do that from a lower camera angle, or it's going to look really weird when you stagger the people, right? So however you set your camera up, you have to kind of forget about the background just for a few moments and imagine, if I'm photographing that many people, how am I arranging them? And where do I need my camera to be? And that's where the camera goes on the tripod, right? Don't just say, oh, well, I'm photographing a full-length picture of a person, so I'm going to put the camera in the middle of the person. No. Right? You have to imagine the finished image. What is the finished image going to look like if you're compositing? And that's where you set your camera. And that's also how you set your lighting for a finished image like that. That way, everything's going to look believable, right? And if you're doing the compositing, of course, you're going to want to be able to move the subject off the background a little bit and try to light the background evenly. By doing that, it's actually going to make it much, much easier to mask the people on the background and then be able to go ahead and build the first. Oh, there you go, David. I should have gone down one more. Okay. David said, I was thinking about shooting 2 or 3 groups and stitching them together in Photoshop. How would you go about tackling this situation in camera first? Okay, so there you go. So in camera first, you're not going to get all 16 people, right? So you've got the right idea. Stitching them together. So again, evenly lit background. When you set your camera height, you're going to set your camera height based on the finished image. Don't make the mistake of saying, oh, well, this is just going to be 2 people. I'm going to set my camera here. Because then if you want to put people behind them, that's going to look really ridiculous, right? So the way you make a composite like this work is you start with the final image in your mind, and that's what you build out in terms of how you set your lights, how you set your camera angle. And then if you've got them all on a really clean background, believe me, the subject selection tools in Photoshop now, or even Lightroom, Camera Raw, they're amazing. They make it super, super simple. And it will be really easy to do it. What I would encourage you to do is even plan the group out in advance in the sense of, well, okay, this is the person or the 2 people are going to be in the very, very middle of the group. These people are going to be over on this side. These people are going to be over on this side. That way, when you photograph them, you can angle them slightly in the right direction, right? So you literally start with the finished image. What's the finished image look like? Where's the camera need to be? How do I need to pose the people from there? And then that's how you photograph them. Really simple. And of course, you're not moving the camera or the lights in between shots. All that gets locked down. And then you bring the people in and set them up accordingly. Okay? That's how I would approach it. So let's see what else we had here. Ruben. Thank you very much for the kind words, Ruben. I appreciate that. And scrolling on down, oh gosh, everybody's been so nice tonight. John in Columbia, I am glad the videos have helped you. Thank you. I appreciate your being here. Let's see, Any Camera Works. James in Alaska, always curious, did you get your mannequin name from the Kinks song? I've learned a lot. One, thank you for the kind words about the videos. No, actually, I didn't get it from the Kinks song. It actually happened on one of these live streams, not long after I first started using the video, or the mannequin, which was, I don't know, 5 years ago now. Somebody asked me what the mannequin's name was. And while, in the chat, I don't have a name. And they're like, oh, you gotta have a name. I was like, so what do you guys think I should name it? And somebody typed, the first name that came back was Lola. And so that's where the name came from. So no, it's not from a song, but it was someone here in the chat that gave me the name. Okay. Gosh, all of you, the New Year's wishes, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Andre, for the Q&A, we do a last frame on photo editing. I've learned photo basically for me since last summer, and I'm confused on when and why to edit a photo. Woo. Okay. Well, so I probably, Andre, won't do a last frame that's all about photo editing, but I got you. Don't worry. Okay. The reason for that is I'm not the best Photoshop person in the world. I'm really good at what I do on my pictures, but I don't necessarily use the best techniques that are available for all of my processing. And by the way, most photographers don't, right? In other words, once you kind of learn a workflow, you tend to stick with that workflow unless something comes along that's like, oh my God, that is going to be so much better. And then you will evolve a little bit with it, right? So as a result of that, I'm always a little bit reluctant to teach Photoshop because I'm not really the best at teaching Photoshop. So bear with me 1 second here. And there's 2 things that I'm going to do for you. One is you mentioned you're not sure about when to edit. So I will talk to you about that. But the other one is I'm going to tell you who I feel is the person that you should be following on YouTube when it comes to, whoops, and there he is, Photoshop work. Okay, so the person that you want to follow, and I'll give you the URL here, is a gentleman by the name of Unmesh Dinda. He is from India, and he is the man. He's got over 4 million subscribers. I don't know, does it tell us? It doesn't tell us how many videos. He's got an insane amount of Photoshop videos. He pumps out content like nobody's business. He can teach you pretty much anything that you need about Photoshop. He even does a Patreon, you know, all that kind of stuff. But now, I'm going to work backwards. Don't start watching all of his videos with the goal of learning Photoshop. Worst idea ever. And that is not a reflection on Unmesh at all. That is just in terms of how people learn. What you need to start doing is you need to start working in Photoshop or Lightroom, whichever program you want to use. And then when you get stuck with things, then you're going to go to his channel and you're going to search for a video on his channel about that thing and learn how to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to get sucked down a rabbit hole with all these Photoshop videos that it's going to overwhelm you, period. Not because you're new, just because you're human, it's going to overwhelm you. And the other thing about watching Photoshop videos, regardless of whose videos you watch, the real key to making most of those videos work for you, and the big problem that most people run into, they will watch some YouTube video about Photoshop and it seems simple and it seems easy. And then they open up a picture and they go to try to do it. And it looks like crap. And the reason it looks like crap is not because of the person that made the video. The reason it looks like crap is because the person that just watched the video picked an image that is nothing like the one in the video. And that's why the same technique doesn't work. So you will progress a lot faster, actually, if you don't rely on the videos until you're stuck. Use videos to solve the problem and then go back to it. But your question was, and this may be a language thing, but I'm going to answer it as it's written, okay? When and why to edit in a photo. So first of all, every image that you take, every image, needs to be developed, right? So you should be shooting in RAW. There are cases before somebody jumps and says, well, I would shoot JPEGs because of this. All right, cool. There are plenty of reasons to shoot JPEGs, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about general shooting. I want nice pictures, and I don't have a special reason to shoot JPEGs, okay? So you should be shooting in RAW, and that means anything you shoot in RAW should be developed because it's an undeveloped file, right? So every image that you shoot needs to be edited, or I prefer to say processed, because if we look up those words in the dictionary, editing is really culling. It's, you know, I want this image, not this image, and I'll keep this image too. That's editing, okay? So basically when you're looking at the idea of when should you process everything. Now, I have a feeling what your question is actually leading towards is more a matter of how much is the right amount or how much is too much, etc. That is something that ultimately only you can decide. Literally, okay? Because it's a style choice, right? That's really what it comes down to. Now, certainly there is such a thing as over editing. We've all seen the beauty type images where people have gone like way overboard with frequency separation and techniques like that. And, you know, this beautiful person looks like a Barbie doll because their skin looks like plastic. But even that, there are some photographers that do that consistently. And it kind of looks cool because in part, their style, their look is almost this kind of sci-fi-ish feel to their images. And so it all fits, right? So you don't want to find yourself in the trap of having somebody say to you, oh, never do this or never do that. You need to kind of decide for you how much is too much. And I've explained this before, learning Photoshop or Lightroom, whichever program you use, it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride, right? As you get better at it, that's kind of like going up that first hill. The quality is improving. You're feeling a little bit more confident. But there will come a point where you crest the top of the hill, but you don't really know you crested. And so what happens is you kind of feel like you're still going up. Like you're proud of yourself. You're getting better. Things are doing better. But in reality, your work is starting to go down. And what's happening is you're overdoing those new techniques that you've learned. We've all done it. Everybody goes through that process. And eventually you kind of look back over your shoulder and you realize like, ooh, that's a little too much, right? And so then you start to bring yourself back to where it makes more sense in the processing. And then your work hits bottom and starts to come back up on the next hill. And you repeat the process all over again, right? More often than not, new techniques in Photoshop, especially for retouching, they become really, really exciting and we go hard on them. And that's when they start to look bad, right? So you kind of have to get it out of your system and then you dial it back a little bit and things are going to look a lot better. So along the way, I will tell you, if you have specific questions on things, by all means, feel free to ask during the last frame and I will do my best to help you. But I probably won't do actual Photoshop demos because honestly, there's no reason. With a guy like Unmish and Pix Imperfect doing what he does, there's nothing that I'm going to bring to the table that is honestly going to add to what he's doing. And, I get it with Photoshop or with YouTube, anybody can be a YouTuber and they can make videos, but it's not why I started doing YouTube videos. So, he's got it covered. And there are other people out there, but hands down, I feel that he is the best, period. His pacing is very good. He is very thorough in the way he explains things. He keeps his lessons kind of short and to the point. He doesn't try to take on one of the things I'm guilty of as a teacher. I oftentimes try to take on too much in the topic. He doesn't, keeps it real simple. And then if necessary, he'll do multiple videos. Really, really sharp. So I would encourage you to check him out. And I gave you that URL there. Okay. All right. Let's see. What do we got? From Ben. Love the idea of posing without posing in a Bruce Lee kind of way. Hope you can include that in Texas school at some point too. I'm signed up. Fingers crossed you get calls. Oh, cool, Ben. So I'll make you a deal. If you're in my class, I won't do it. If you're not, I'll do it. No, I'm kidding. I'll do it. Yeah, that's basically that's the way that I do posing. So that will be a big part of what we talk about. And since for Texas school, we will be shooting both studio stuff and location. On the location stuff especially, because in the studio I tend to do the really tight stuff. But we'll do some 3/4 length and full length stuff in the studio. But when we get out on location, that's a big part of where I will demonstrate that and kind of work people through it. And forewarned, it's one of those things that I could tell you about it over and over and over and over again. You won't get it until you start doing it. It takes practice, right? It simply takes practice because it's really not that you're learning the posing part. It's learning the direction part. And then more importantly, it's learning the seeing part. In other words, being able to pay attention to the little details and see them on your subject so that you're making everything look its best in the process. Okay? Philip, you wish Australia would put on events like this Texas school. Yeah, and Philip, maybe they do. We may need to look into that. I mean, there's a huge photography community in Australia. You may be down under, but still, there's a lot going on down there. So yeah, I'll do a little bit of research and see what the options may be. But I will tell you this type of concept is growing in popularity. For a very long time here in the US, Texas school was like the only one that did something like this. Unless you went to one of the big like main workshops or those types of things, which are super expensive. But I know already there are 2 or 3 others now in the US that do a whole week-long one. I know there's one in Florida. So, it's a growing concept. So I'm sure if it's not in Australia yet, something like it will get there. But Texas school, the Florida school, they are put on by PPA affiliates. So they're part of the Professional Photographers of America Association that does that. Okay. Scrolling on down here, Alvin, I wanted to play some more with photography. Okay. What do you think? I hope so. What do you think about ICM abstracts and creative out of focus photography? ICM, I'm assuming you're talking about in-camera movement. I think they're things that you can shoot, Alvin. That's a weird question to ask me, Alvin, right? I mean, I want to help you, but at the same time, you know, if I say, oh, I think they're really cool, does that make you want to do them more? And then let's flip that script. If I say, I think that's just freaking ridiculous, are you not going to try it? That would be stupid. Honest, to not try it because Joe Edelman says he thinks it's dumb. Come on, man. If you're interested in it, do it. Play with it, right? So do not ever let anyone else tell you what you're supposed to do with your photography. Never. Okay, that's not how it works. All right. Let's see here. Philip, oh, guys, we're gonna finish early. I got 10 minutes left. There's only one more question. Type away. Philip, I recently bought a 12. Whoops, there, it's still there. Okay, 12-100 lens. I'm impressed as long as I don't compare with a pro lens. Great for touring around. I have it on an EM1 Mark III and lately with a Nissan flash on and off camera. So, Philip, I'm curious. Type fast. What do you mean by I'm impressed as long as I don't compare it with a pro lens? So I owned a 12 to 200 and, oh wait, 12 to 200. I didn't own a 12 to 200. I had the 12 to 100. Okay. But still, how does that lens not compare to a pro lens? I'm curious what you mean by that. Okay. So type away, and if anybody else has got a question, cool. But in the meantime, I have one more thing that I want to share with you guys, okay? Because I've talked about it before, but I'm going to talk about it again, and I'm going to keep talking about it. So let me just reset my screen here a little bit. I want to show you, I'm going to give you a quick little walkthrough of my TOGKnowledge photography community, all right? A lot of you are in multiple Facebook photography groups. And come on, let's keep it real. Unless you just have a lot of time on your hands, maybe you're retired, maybe you just don't want to have to go spend the evening with the wife, so you sit in front of a computer, surfing, okay? You're not getting much out of those photography groups. You're just not. It's freaking Facebook. Most people behave like imbeciles and are mean. They're not supportive. They're not really that helpful. So you all know, just over a year ago, I was briefly banned from Facebook. Didn't think I was getting back in, you know, all that drama, but got back in and realized, like, hey, having a Facebook group with 10,000 people was really cool, but also really stupid. Because indeed, if I get banned from Facebook, I lose all that. So over the course of this last year, I've been working on this community. It is called the TOGKnowledge community. I'm just going to grab the link here to share with you guys so that you can learn more about it. You can check it out. It is everything photography. So first of all, right now we've got photographers from over 37 countries that are involved in the group. It is a community, meaning you will get to know people from around the world. We have some of the basic things that any community would have. There's an announcement section. There's a community center. We feature members 1 2 months. In fact, I got a new one that's about to get launched. This last one, Daniel Rainey from Orange County, California. Look at the stuff Daniel does. This guy's cool, and he's a member of the community. He shoots these aerial images of planes. He's out in California. Is this stuff not amazing? Like really, really awesome stuff, okay? We have a section called Your Photos, which, you know, some fun stuff here. My favorites, you've all seen the quote of the day that I post online. Well, that gets posted here in the community too, but the cool part is in the community, what happens is people come up then and post their own images that illustrate, you can tell the holidays, everything slowed down over the holidays, but here, we'll go back where there's bunches of them, okay? People come in and they post their own photos that illustrate the way they interpret the quotes, which is a lot of fun. We have a photo share channel, which is a love-only channel. No yeah, I can't talk. No critiques, no negative feedback, no, you know, it's too dark, you should have done this. None of that is allowed. Love only. But I want you to notice photographers share, you know, little bits of information in some cases, and in other cases, lots of information about why they made the shot, how they made the shot. We get all kinds of details here. So you get to learn from them. Nobody's allowed to just slap a picture in there, right? And in the community, we use what we refer to as emojis as our love language, right? So everybody's encouraged when you look at a post, leave an emoji, and you can use any emoji, but that way people know that you saw it. And then we have an image help section where people come in, and if they're working on something and they need some help with it. In fact, Oren's here tonight. He was having a problem with moire patterns in a shot that he did. So he gave us, look at all this information that we've got on how he made this shot and the problem. So not only did I find him a video that breaks down how to resolve that problem, it's actually from Unmistinda, Pixel Perfect, but I also record, for all the images that go into Image Help, I record a feedback video with my feedback and suggestions and recommendations, okay? Photo education are daily posts from me with articles, videos, things that I've done. Video presentations are links to see actual online presentations that I've done and to be able to watch them. Image breakdowns are full breakdowns of how I did shots, gear, behind the scenes clips, lighting diagrams, etc. There are downloads. I have templates for like how I do my Facebook headers, all of my sharpening details, all that kind of stuff. There are links to interviews that I've done with well-known photographers. And here's a cool part, so that you don't have to go to all of the different blogs on a daily or weekly basis to see the news. I have feeds from Petapixel, DIY Photography, F-Stoppers, DP Review, SLR Lounge, PDN, Online, Imaging Resource, and Digital Photo Pro. As soon as the articles are published on their website, the articles wind up here in TOGKnowledge. It's completely legal. They give me access to the articles, okay? And the best part of it is, unlike when you go to their websites, they're separated. So when you come to latest photo news, it's about how to take pictures. All the articles that are about software elements for photography, they go into the software news. So if you want to learn about retouching or new software that's on the market, you'll find all of that there. And then if you're into the gear and you're a gearhead, all the gear articles go into the gear basement. And then we have chat channels for people that shoot people, outdoors, animals, commercial stuff, news and events, nature and close-up. So these are just basically, you know, chat channels that you can go through, and then brand chats. If you want to talk to other Sony users, Canon users, Fuji, we even got a couple Pentax users, right? There's always oddballs, you know, around, right? So anyway, once a week, Thursday nights, tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, I do a weekly community meetup via Zoom, where we get together and we talk, we solve problems, get to know each other, have some fun, all that kind of stuff. The next question people have, is it free? No, it's not, but it's damn cheap, okay? Literally, you have two options. You can pay $10 a month, which I would encourage you don't pay $10 a month. I would encourage you to pay $6.25 a month so you get billed $75 once a year. So break that down. That's $6.25 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day, to have direct access to me, to help you with your photography, and to have access to these photographers from all around the world. So you can check it out. You get a 14-day free trial. Sign up, register, read this information. See, it says, please read before proceeding. Read it carefully, because if you don't take those steps and you try to shortcut it, you get booted out, okay? But you can register. I would encourage you to watch the video. The video breaks down in a lot more detail what I was just telling you about. But I started this March of last year, and it has grown wonderfully. And by the way, it's not a 10,000 person community. We have just over 200 people right now. My goal is to keep it under 500 people and leave it right in that space. So yeah, I would encourage you, check it out. All right. So I want to get back to, oh, and by the way, TC, I'd love to be a member of TOGKnowledge group, but I don't use a computer, only an iPad, can't link to IG from the iPad. You can type the URL in, even though I say copy and paste it. Take your time, be really careful, and type the URL. I have quite a few people that access the group only on an iPad. Okay, so it's very doable. Okay, Philip followed up here with his 12 to 200. So it's not as sharp if put side by side. Photos are great and did not surprise me. The 12 to 100 is a magical lens. I'll put up some photos of a spider website I took yesterday, but the 40 to 150 is my favorite. Yeah, I mean, the Ames Weco 40 to 150 is absolutely gorgeous lens. And it's a really, really amazingly versatile focal length, because for you full frame shooters, that's like an 80 to 300 focal length at f2.8, which is just, awesome, right? So all the Ames Weco lenses honestly are really good. If you're having problems with that 12 to 200, Philip, I would actually encourage you maybe to get it checked out, because I've honestly never come across an Olympus lens that is not just simply tack sharp, period. And I don't get paid to say that stuff anymore, right? So, all right, gang, we are at the mark, 7 o'clock. So, first of all, Happy New Year. A lot of you left wishes. Thank you for that tonight. I really appreciate that. You know the drill, right? I appreciate your watching. I hope you found some value. But please, you're not getting any younger. So you've got less time left to shoot and to learn and to improve than you did yesterday, which means go pick up your camera and shoot something, because your next shot, it's your best shot. Adios, gang. Have a great week. Take care.